Hello everyone, welcome back. So I have been in the Oracle Cloud space for a while now, and I have sat in a rooms with accountants, controllers, finance managers, and finance leaders. And I have heard the same frustrations over and over again. Too many reports available within the financial work area, which report to use, which many time we have to open multiple tabs to be able to work on something. And month end is a chaos. Everyone is exporting to the Excel, and there is this constant feeling of why does it take this long just to understand what's happening in my own balances or the numbers? Why I'm not able to understand this quickly? And now Oracle just released a ledger agent, and honestly, if you ask me, I think this is the beginning of all the answers to those frustration which we keep on hearing in every implementation project. In fact, I'm going to say something that might sound dramatic, but I genuinely believe it that this is the biggest shift in general ledger operations I have seen in last few years. And in this video, I want to give you my honest take, not just what the document which was released by Oracle for adopting this ledger agent. You can also read it yourself, but what it actually means, what it gets right, and what I've seen firsthand with the clients, and what you need to do it differently if you're going to actually make this work. So let's get into it. Just to set a quick context for this, that the document which I'm talking about, that is this document. So this is adoption guidance for the ledger agent agentic accounting and finance operations. So this was released by Oracle, and this is the Oracle official adoption guidance for ledger agent. Around 30 to 33 pages document this is, and it covers everything starting from the pain points in current accounting or the general ledger operations to how ledger agent will solve them in this release and the upcoming release, the add-on which will be coming. And then to a practical use case by case adoption approach. Now, I want to be clear about something. This is not a marketing document, or Oracle does not say that Ledger Agent is amazing. Go ahead and use it when it gets released. They actually spend a meaningful amount of time uh, in one of the section, which I will show you in a moment, about what's broken in today finance operation. And that section alone is good to start with. Let me go to that section. So this is data section, accounting and finance operation, how current accounting operations are structured across client, right? And then it also talk about how it general ledger is being operated, right? What we do in general ledger. And then the main thing which this document is talk about the key pain point area, because honestly reading through these pain points felt like reading a summary of every client conversation which I have had earlier, either during a period close activity or during a implementation different phases which you do with the clients, whether it's a reconciliation related issues which was highlighted, or the intercompany variance, or the manual reporting, because there are different tools, reporting tools, which are available within the general ledger work area, right? So it talks about everything. Like if you see that redundant solution, right? Multiple mechanism exist for the similar tasks, such as balance monitoring, like inquiry and detail balance, inquiry and analyze balance, right? Smart view. And then you will see a navigation complexity, which I will also touch base a few in few moment, and limited contextual integration. The general accounting dashboard improve navigation, but does not fully align available method and tools to user specific intents or task context. Like we can get one details, and then to be able to get to another details, we have to do something else. And then the like heavy reliance of reporting, deep investigation, explanation often depend on extensive manual data gathering, cross-referencing between report and offline tools, which we generally use by exporting the data from the Oracle Cloud and then comparing it with other, right? So let me give you my take for this ledger agent in three parts. Okay, what this document gets absolutely right, what I think most people will get wrong when they adopt this, and what I would actually do if I were implementing this today. So starting with the pain points, right? So first thing that struck me about this document is the pain point section, which I just showed you, right? Oracle list few of them, like a period and bottlenecks, manual data extraction, navigating complexity, heavy reporting reliance, or the redundant mechanisms, and limited contextual integration. And I just want to say that every single one of these I have seen earlier, right? And you will also be able to relate when you just read it through, right? What are the issues which we generally face within the reporting, especially during the month end? And the one which hits hardest is the manual data extraction part. Because if you think about it, right, accountants run a report, export it to the Excel, does a VLOOKUP, maybe add a pivot table, and then send it to someone. And then when they send it to someone, just to verify, they have their own version of the same data in different formats, because we can export the data in multiple formats from Oracle Cloud. And somewhere in all this back and forth, by the time we have the answer, either we are already late or there are a few days which has been passed, right? Because we have to do a lot of back and forth, and number might have changed because there is another entries which are getting posted, right? And getting number reconciled has always been a task, right? If you're not doing right away and not fetching the right report, because sometimes what happens that during hypercare, what I've seen that user comes to us and say, okay, we are not able to reconcile these balances, and what we sometimes figure out that they are not using the right report to be able to reconcile those balances. So those sort of things which comes into play, and we have known this problem forever, right? It's not like that this is a new information which Oracle is giving and or highlighting in this documentation, or we have not seen this earlier, right? But what's new is that how this ledger agent and this documentation represent is how actually the problem is being solved at the platform level, not with another report, not with another dashboard, with an agent that just answer the questions in simple language. And other point which I wanted to highlight is about this, right? The navigating complexity, right? This document puts it diplomatically that there is a breadth of available tools makes it challenging to determine the most effective path. And what that actually means in practice is that you have got, like, if I take an example for the balances, right? You have got in column detail balances, account monitor, smart view, FRS report, and your accountant or any general ledger person has to know which ones to use for which situation. This is the generally used comparison which we do in every project which we implement the reporting for. And that's a lot of knowledge which required just to do some basic investigation. And ledger agent collapses all of that. One place, one conversation, and done. That is why I think this is such a significant shift. Now let's move on and talk about the mega reporting problem and why that is bigger than most people think. I will go on to the one section from this document and just to show you. So this is a section which I would like to show, that is financial statement and reporting. So there is part in here that I wanted to read because I think Oracle has put their fingers on something really important. Okay, so Oracle is saying that inquiry and reporting has been a very commonly used mechanism by finance team used for a variety of purposes, ranging from ad hoc balance inquiry, general inquiries, saved searches to structured user reporting for generating financial statement, right? And they describe what they call, I would say, mega reporting, that is high volume detailed report that teams run regularly. The BIP reporting, which we generally use for the high volume reporting, right? They have often thousands of rows, right? And not because we need all data, but because sometimes the reporting tools does not have ask them targeted question. Like we can download the report output, but we cannot ask question to them until this AI agent things come into play, right? Because with the help of agentic AI, we can still use and upload those reports and have them question answered. But coming ledger agent, we will be able to do so. Now, I have seen this so many times that a finance team running a 50,000 or more than 50,000 row GL extract, and not because they needed those rows, but because they need some 100 or 200 rows, and the only way to get those data is pulling out the record for all those 40,000 or 10,000, whatever the count is, to pull that all and then sort through them to get the actual data. Sometimes it happens, this is not a general, but sometimes this happens. And the crazy thing is that nobody questions it anymore. It's just how we do it. It's the process for years and we are just following it. New people join the team, they inherit the Excel file and they keep running the same report again and again, right? So now Oracle is saying stop. Let's get into the minds of people who run these reports and find out what question they're actually trying to answer, and then model that question as a monitoring prompt or a natural language query. So that's why you will see the inquiry mechanism. Oracle talked about that inquiry on detail balance, inquiry on, for example, we need to review this. Now we can use natural language prompt or guided prompt template, which I will, these two templates which are available, I will talk in some time. And then we can column various segment like a cost center or by account or by your company, the organization, right? And we can also have the deep go deep into the subledger or the transaction level details, right? So SmartView for now it is not available. This will be a upcoming one. So this is not just a technology change. That's a mindset change. And in my experience, mindset change is always the harder part because the client which has been doing a specific task or a thing for, let's say, for last 10 years using the same process, and now if you say that no, we you can keep doing that, but on top of this there is another added functionality which you are getting, so they feel that why we have to do this, we this process is working fine, and that goes around it, right? So but here is the good news: once one person on the team does it, and gets an answer in 30 seconds that used to take them an hour earlier by comparing the different reports, the rest of team follows pretty quickly. I have seen it happen. The adoption tends to be a fast once people see it working, right? So we have to let them understand this is how it works, and then they will be able to see, okay, we are getting some good things out of this ledger agent. And now the thing I probably appreciate most about this document is the adoption approach. I will show you the adoption approach now. So let me go to the front and then go to the section for adoption approach. So there are 6 use cases. If I again go to the index, there are mainly 6 use cases which Oracle talked about for a adoption approach: variance analysis, account walkthrough, daily accounting operations, reconciliation, financial statement, and the allocation. And Oracle explicitly says that you do not have to do all of these at once. You can start with the ones that aligns with the pain points. We can pick a starting point and then get a win from there and then build from there, right? We can start with one and then go on to the other ones. And this is exactly how the transformation should work, right? Because I have seen the opposite happens many times. A big bang, we are going to change everything at once approach, and that overwhelms the team, create resistance, or either get abandoned halfway, right? Or becomes a checkbox exercise where nobody actually changes how they work. We're just marking a checkbox. Okay, we have done this, we have done this, that's it. And that's at the end, we are just again back to the square one that we have not understood anything. So the recommendation to start with variance analysis is spot on, because every finance team we do the variance analysis. It's universal. The manual steps are always painful, and the improvement with ledger agent is immediate and visible. Like for an example, if you say, see over here that there are 2 things which this document tell about that. For example, we set up one monitoring prompt, let's say flag any liability variance fluctuation quarter on quarter above a specific threshold, let's say 5%, right? So here what we used to do, we are running an account analysis report for current quarter and previous quarter balances, and then identify which countries contribute towards the variances, then run a PTB report to identify top 10 suppliers. So we have to run multiple reports. But now coming with this ledger agent, we just have to write a monitoring prompt that monitor AP liability variance greater than a threshold, that is 10% quarter on quarter for this, right? So when the condition is met, the insight already call out that entities or the countries that have variance with follow-up stepping. We can ask a further follow-up questions to the same if we have any doubt, and it will summarize everything. Okay. So what used to be a 2-hour investigation becomes a 5 minutes conversation when we are setting up this, right? And when we are planning an implementation, we will start from there and then build momentum. Same goes for, like, if I go to the next part, right? That is account walkthrough and transaction review. Now here, earlier we used to do the account monitor configuration for expense account as an account group if we have to see the fluctuation, right? So, and then either we can use the expense account inquiry on detail balances page for a balances thing, right? Now we can use a guided prompt. I will talk about guided prompt in a moment to inquire on expense account in natural language. We just have to write a basically prompt, sort prompt, and then it will give you the data which you need. And then if I go to the next section, see, for example, this is the one, flag travel and internet entertainment expenses for this account entries over $5,000. So it will list all the generals which has been created for this account, and the amount is over $5,000. It will give you that data. That's how it is going to work if we do this prompt based things and then ask the questions. We can ask follow up questions at any point of time. And if I go scroll down, that here you can see the daily accounting operations, the exception, the accounting exception which comes, right? So especially for the Fusion Accounting Hub, if you recall, right? So there are a lot of exception which comes in. Now with this at your main screen, so one thing I would like to call out, that there is going to be a separate springboard which will come up. So that will look like this: general ledger, and then we have to go to general ledger. That will open up your ledger agent. This we cannot access from the AI agent studio. That will be a review only part from the just to see the setups. But if I have to access this ledger agent, I have to go to this springboard from the navigator only, and this is the only way to access this ledger agent. Now, when we go into this ledger agent, we will see something like this. Like we have added some prompts, right? And now decided the priorities and all those sort of things. It will give you an insight in summary like this on your dashboard, that for a given quarter for financial year, these are your items, and it is giving it summary like accounting process exception, like 586 in account exception, and CAD in this missing exchange rate, right? And if I go over this, and it will say that for this given category and source and the summary, this is the issue which is coming up, and we can ask further questions to ask this, like show me account status related exception, right? The first one. So it is giving the general detail that this is the transaction which happened for this, like that. So it is giving those kind of details, the error details which is there. Likewise goes for the reconciliation, whether it's a subledger and ledger entries reconciliation or the clearing account reconciliations or the intercompany reconciliation, right? We have to run multiple report, like payable to ledger reconciliation report, and then for intercompany there is a separate report, right? And for receivables there is a separate report. And now we have predefined or the seeded conditions that will monitor and track these discrepancies. Okay, so this is really a good thing to have. When we have everything all at once, we can just have start with one and then go on and create more. And now my honest point, right? I wanted to be balanced here. I do have one concern that the document touches on, but I don't think it goes far enough. The data quality, right? So I will go to one section that is setting up for success. Let me go it from here. Setting up for success with ledger. So here Oracle says that LLM uses our description as a reasoning cues. If our COS segment values has no description and if our general categories are named things like JNL 001 with no context or no description, or if documents have no meaningful comments, the agent is going to give mediocre answer. So this is the part, right? It says we will not get the actual responses from the agent because agent is utilizing all of these data points when it is giving you that. And I wanted to say this clearly, this is not a ledger agent problem, right? This is a data problem that has existed for years and everyone just has been ignoring it, right? And I have worked with clients earlier that they were set up 15 years ago by someone and then who has left the company, segment values with code that nobody remember, general sources named after internal system that no longer exist or defined general categories that does not make any sense for a given transaction. And if this data is going into this agent is going to give or try his best with it, but we are not going to get the full value, right? So that's why these are the recommendation which is given by Oracle to help ledger agent outcomes, that we need to provide human understandable, fully formed, self-explanatory description for enterprise metadata for chart of account, general sources, supplier business unit, or the transaction like these ones, meaningful approval comments, right? Generally what we do not provide approval comments, right? So but if you have to get something from the ledger agent for the approvals, we have to provide those comments. Accordingly, it will give you the data. If you're not providing the comments, how it will give the data, right, for a specific comment if you're looking at it, right? So we have to rationalize everything or standardize everything. So my honest advice that before you activate a single monitoring prompt, before you write a single natural language query, spend some time enriching the metadata. It's not exciting, but it is the foundational work that determines whether this succeed, the ledger agent succeed or not. Now coming on to the next point, that if I have to implement this, what I would actually do, right? So if I was sitting across from you right now as a consultant and you said we are about to adopt ledger agent, where do I start? And here is what exactly I would tell you. Don't touch the product. Just first audit your metadata. Go through your chart of account values, general categories, ledger name, legal entity name, business units, supplier data, all the metadata whichever is there. Wherever there is a code or an abbreviation, there is no description, fix it. Add some plain English description. This is your foundation. The second thing which you should do, that open the prompt catalog. Oracle gives you seeded template or the guided prompts. Let me show you that now. I'm going. So this is the first part, that is monitoring prompt, which I will show you in a moment. Let me first show you the guided prompt. Okay. So this is the guided prompt. So if you click on this on your dashboard, it will show you something like this. Show me account location period in the US for ledger. So the underscored one here, we need to provide a value, and based on that, it will create that prompt for us. So let's say here I have selected this. Then what I can do, I can click on that and select that specific value, whether it's for account, for entity, for period, like that. So we have to select the each values, and then we will hit enter. Like for example, you can see over here for this your account and for this company, and likewise for this your period between this, and so the variance between August and September. So then it what will do, it will compare the utilities and give you that details, that utility expense, so this change and what is the change and the variance which comes into play, right? So Oracle is giving few of the seeded prompts like this, or some seeded templates which are also available. Okay, so go through them, don't activate anything, map them to the current period checklist which you might have, identify 5 to 10 that replace the most painful manual checks, and then what you can do, either use a guided prompts or create the monitoring prompt, because you have to keep monitoring for a specific thing, right? So here what you can do, because monitoring prompt will always be there. So like here you can create a monitoring prompt by clicking on this plus icon, and then this is the catalog or the sample prompt which Oracle provides. what we can do, we can just skip this and then it will go into this screen. Now what we can do, we can say that track all manual accruals on each account under revenue, right? So this is the parent account which you're selecting, and under that we need to track all manual accrual. And then we have to select the frequency, the time stamp, right? They d minus 3 plus d minus 5, that if I'm running this today, then before 3 days and after 5 days, like that. And the frequency is going to be monthly. Priority, we can set the high low based on your pain point or the painful checks which we generally do as part of your period close. Okay, and then once you just create prompt, it will be created. Here you can see track all manual record on each account under this for each entity, and this is coming over here. And for each of your monitoring prompt, it will give you insight like this if anything happens for a given time. Now, this is a very good thing. If you're coming onto the dashboard, you already have something which happened for a given frequency which we have selected, right? And we can go into this insight and ask follow-up questions. We can also share this with the team. We can show them the insight and show them how I got the alert to answer without opening a single report. Because when I opened this dashboard, I got this very good insight that what actually happened for a given prompt which I provided, and I don't need to run any reports. And that's when people will see that okay, this is a good change which we are going to see. And then from coming months, we can scale one use case at a time, and then we will progressively add on. No big bang, go one by one, or just collect your 4 or 5 pain points and then you should be good. And now coming to the end, my take on ledger agent adoption guidance. So if I talk about this document, right, this is a genuinely well written, honest and practical document, and it represents something bigger than a new feature release, because it represents Oracle saying the way finance team interacts with data is changing fundamentally and permanently, right? And the accountant who will adapt to this, who learn to ask questions conversationally, and who will set up the monitoring prompt, who stop running those big reports, will start getting answers on demand. And this is going to be significantly more productive than the one who will not use something like this, right? And that's my take. This is a very good change, and I will be very curious once it get released. I will be very happy to try it and share more insight how this goes. If this was helpful, like, subscribe, and share it with the colleague who is working on an Oracle Fusion implementation. It might save them uh, some time by looking at what actually the ledger agent is. Thank you.